This required a lot of crews, and remember how cold it is out there. Injuries. We'll stay on this story. We'll get you updates just as soon as we get them.
An apartment building in Park Forest has been condemned after residents complained that they were living without heat.
Now, this is not the first time we have reported on the Autumn Ridge complex. Casey Cronus live in Park Forest with the latest. Casey.
And this is just another chapter in the saga of ongoing issues there. Last summer, residents went weeks without AC. Now, some say they need to bundle up in their own homes. In Illinois, residential properties must provide adequate heat beginning October 1st through May 31st. But one Autumn Ridge resident claims he hasn't had heat all winter. He even alleges his dog died because of those conditions. The village confirms they are aware that multiple tenants have complained about the lack of heat. Village officials even telling us one of the complex's main buildings was condemned last Friday for failing to provide heat. They say they ordered the property owner to move those residents into hotels. So far, tenants from at least 17 units have been relocated. The apartment complex has not provided an official statement, but confirms they have been moving residents who are without heat into other accommodations.
They shouldn't have to live like this. In a complex that receives federal funding, this is supposed to be, you know, a place where it's affordable and in living conditions.
That's why I haven't been giving them the rent money, because the money that I have had, I use, you know, for hotels and Airbnbs because it's so cold.
Even if they owe money in rent, there is a process that has to take place.
In a statement just in from the village, a spokesperson tells us because of the ongoing issues stemming from last summer, the village has been trying to force the sale of the apartment complex to a new owner, and tells us they are hopeful that will go through in the next month. Reporting in Park Forest, Casey Cronus, Fox Chicago.
All right, so we've been talking about the weather all week long, and for good reason. That frozen section of Lake Michigan says it all. Are we in for more of this ice cold, situation, Emily?
We are. It's going to stay cold for another day or so, but then going into the weekend, we actually have warmer temperatures to tell you about in the 20s. But really grabbing the headlines now is going to be the heavy lake effect snow that's expected to develop tomorrow, lasting into Saturday evening for some of us. So let's break down some of our alerts. For those of you in Lake County, Illinois, northern Cook County, and DuPage County, you have a winter weather advisory that's going into effect tomorrow, 9 a.m., lasting until 3 p.m. for 2 to 3 inches of snow. And you're probably thinking, okay, 2 to 3 inches of snow, not so bad. But the problem is that it's going to be coming down very heavily with those lake effect bands. So very quickly changing road conditions expected tomorrow morning into the afternoon for the counties highlighted in purple here. And then rounding the lake a little bit farther, including the city of Chicago, we have a winter storm watch, central and southern Cook County. And this is going into northwest Indiana as well for Lake and Porter for as much as 6+ inches of snow being possible. Again, with lake effect, it's very localized, but regardless, some of us are going to be seeing some pretty impressive totals here Friday into Saturday. I'll have more details coming up.
Prosecutors want life in prison for the man they say killed a pregnant woman in Downers Grove.
Leslie Moreno has been closely following this case. Prosecutors say the murder was over a vehicle sale, Leslie.
Hey, good evening. Yeah, he was angry about the condition of a truck he purchased from that 30-year-old mother and her husband. During a news conference early this morning, the DuPage County State's Attorney called it a horrific attack beyond comprehension. And tonight we're learning even more disturbing details about the brutal attack. Officials say a rape kit was taken, and not only did Eliza have vaginal bruising, they say she was burned in that area as well. They would not elaborate today on how likely it is that she was raped. Police say 19-year-old Nitas Ravukas is responsible for the killing of 30-year-old Eliza Morales. The attack happened Monday evening after Morales arranged to meet Ravukas at her home in Downers Grove. Authorities say the meeting was connected to the sale of a truck her husband posted on Facebook Marketplace. Police say Morales was stabbed 70 times. She was about 5 months pregnant. and was pronounced dead at the scene. Her dog was also stabbed between the eyes but survived. Investigators say the fire was intentionally set after the attack to hide the evidence. Police later located Ravukas and took him into custody. He is being charged with first-degree murder among other felonies. This morning, a judge ruled that he is to remain in custody.
You know, as a police chief, this is the worst call that you can get. And, you know, immediately once we started determining the circumstances that were involved here, we knew that our top priority was to solve this case. And as we began to develop information quickly and urgently, I could tell that somebody was looking over us. Somebody was helping us with this case.
The suspect's brother and father were both in the courtroom this morning. They had no comment. Downers Grove Chief of Police also noted the dangers of meeting people online. The 19-year-old remains locked up at the DuPage County Jail. His arraignment is scheduled for February 18th at 9:30 in the morning. Eliza was laid to rest earlier this afternoon. She was surrounded by all her friends and family. For now, reporting live here in DuPage County, Les Moreno, Fox, Chicago.
A former Illinois sheriff's deputy is sentenced to 20 years in prison for the murder of Sonia Massey. Sean Grayson was convicted in October of killing Massey inside her Springfield home. He has been in jail since the July 2024 shooting. Massey had called 911 to report a possible prowler. Grayson claimed he was scared that Massey was going to burn him with a pot of steaming hot water that she had removed from the stove. During today's sentencing, Grayson apologized to the Massey family. With time already served behind bars, he could be released in about 8.5 years. Grayson's attorneys had recommended 6 years because he has late-stage colon cancer, and they say they will appeal. In the wake of Massey's death, Governor Pritzker signed new legislation. It went into effect at the start of the year. The law forces law enforcement to do better background checks when hiring, and that includes looking to physical and psychological fitness for duty exams, work performance records, and any prior investigations involving the applicant. Grayson had 2 DUIs before becoming an officer and worked with 6 different police departments in only 4 years.
Federal government once again facing the possibility of a partial shutdown. Now, it will begin this weekend unless the White House can come up with a deal with Democrats. They are refusing to approve funding for the Department of Homeland Security unless there are major reforms to immigration enforcement. Now, Democrats have 3 demands. They want ICE to end its roving patrols, establish a universal code of conduct for federal agents, use of force, require body cameras, and prohibit the wearing of masks. Some Republicans are open to reforming ICE, but most don't want it tied to any government shutdown.
What ICE is doing outside the law is state-sanctioned thuggery, and it must stop.
I'm willing to entertain some reforms to make sure that we rein in ICE appropriately and make it more professional. But the cancer that we're dealing with is sanctuary city policy.
Government funding package needs to pass by midnight tomorrow to avoid any government shutdown. The White House says it is working directly with Democrats on a deal.
Border Czar Tom Homan is in Minnesota for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, he's overseeing ICE operations that have caused a national uproar after 2 protesters were killed.
Terrence Lee is here. Terrence, more federal agents could be leaving.
Yeah, and it's only been a few days since he took over too, Dawn. And Scott, he's talked with local leaders there, and today he held his first news conference where he said the Trump administration is working on a, quote, drawdown plan to cut back the presence of federal agents in the state.
Withdrawal of law enforcement resources here is dependent upon cooperation. Like I said, one agent arresting one bad guy in the jail means less agents on the street.
He did also say he wants to hold agents accountable and will stay in Minnesota until, quote, the problem's gone. Minneapolis mayor is in D.C. defending his city's sanctuary status.
Of federal agents have descended on a city. American citizens have been yanked away from their homes after that solely because they look like they are from Mexico or Ecuador or Somalia. That's not how we operate in America.
The DHS relieved the Border Patrol commander following criticism of his aggressive tactics. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are also now calling for the impeachment of the DHS secretary. Scott?
Well, meanwhile, Terrence, calls are growing among Democrats for the dismantling of ICE. The latest coming from Illinois Congressman Mike Quigley. He says that in place of ICE, The nation should build an organization recommitted to the original mission of immigration enforcement. That means welcoming and screening new immigrants, deterring illegal entry, and removing, quote, actual security threats. Advocacy groups from across Chicago coming together today as part of a statewide Allies United initiative, calling on communities to keep up the momentum and mobilize ahead of the March primary and November midterm elections. The groups say that Greg Bovino being removed from Minnesota is proof voices do matter. But they say the fight needs to keep going.
Every day we show up and speak out, we're one step closer to unmasking their operation and shining light on the true purpose of their actions. Our country faces a critical moment that many of us did not conceive could happen in our lifetime.
The groups are encouraging everyone to take part in a national blackout tomorrow against ICE. No school, no work, no shopping. They say it's a way to show solidarity. Still ahead on the news at 5, a red light camera ticket sent to a woman in Chicago uncovers a license plate scam.
Plus, it is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, how Cook County is supporting survivors.
And the debate over accepting the federal school voucher program heating up in Illinois.
The Chicago Wolves take on the Grand Rapids Griffins.
Governor Pritzker has a big decision to make on tuition scholarships for kids who want to go to private schools.
Yeah, there's a new federal law. It allows states to opt either in or out of the program, and it's causing a major debate.
Political reporter Paris Schutz has the latest.
Yeah, Dawn and Scott, this is a hidden part of the quote-unquote one big beautiful bill, and it includes a tax credit of up to $1,700 if taxpayers pay into this scholarship fund that would provide tuition assistance for low-income families. Now, states can opt in or out of the program. Juan Rangel is the president of the Urban Center. That's a centrist education policy group. He says this tuition money could help thousands of low-income Chicago families who are trapped in failing public schools.
It wouldn't cover the entire tuition of a child, but it would go a long way in supporting kids. And as we've seen recently in the last week, a number of Catholic schools are closing down because families just can't afford to enroll in private schools. This would open up the door to many of those families and hopefully keeps schools open.
On the other side of this debate, public school teachers unions and affiliated groups, they oppose this, saying it could take money away from already underfunded public schools and drop enrollment even more and faster than it already is dropping in CPS. Now, a group called Illinois Families for Public Schools is urging Pritzker not to opt Illinois into this, saying, quote, strong public schools that welcome and nurture every child and young person benefit all of us. But the Trump administration is engaged in a massive campaign to destroy our public school system in line with their larger agenda of undermining the public good and foundations of a democratic society. Meanwhile, Governor J.B. Pritzker's office says the governor is reviewing the tax credit for contributions to scholarship granting organizations in the enacted federal tax bill. We will evaluate the issue through a lens focused on affordability for working families and what's best to support Illinois students, families, and public schools. So this program begins in 2027. There was a similar statewide scholarship program, but at the lobbying of the Chicago Teachers Union, that program went away. Teachers Union's hoping that the governor does not opt into this. We don't know when he'll make his decision, but it should be soon. Scott.
All right, Paris, thanks for that. Evanston Mayor Daniel Biss is defending his decision not to send in police to break up a Palestinian encampment protesting on the campus of Northwestern University in the spring of 2024. A university trustee slammed Mayor Biss in a series of text messages with former university president Michael Schill, accusing the mayor of acting in his own political self-interest. Michigan Representative Tim Walberg is now asking that Biss provide the House Committee on Education and Workforce with more information on how Evanston deals with alleged anti-Semitism on campus. Biss, who is running to succeed Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, says the release of the text messages is politically motivated.
I made the decision that I thought was right based on the considerations that were most important, which is, again, public safety and the right to protest. And then I went about my business trying not to politicize it. Others have chosen to politicize it. I regret that decision, but now that they've done it, I feel compelled to share the truth.
In a statement to the Daily, Northwestern's newspaper, Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky says Biss showed, quote, bravery and leadership by respecting students' First Amendment rights and declining to send in Evanston police.
A critically ill patient at Northwestern is kept alive for 2 days without either of his lungs. It's thanks to an artificial lung system developed by surgeons at the hospital. The patient was flown in from Missouri. He had a severe flu-related infection that liquefied his lungs. It was spreading to the rest of his body, so surgeons made the drastic decision to remove both lungs. But without lungs, your heart can collapse. So doctors used a newly developed artificial lung system to keep oxygen moving and support blood flow. And within a day, the patient started to recover. Then, after 48 hours, doctors performed a successful double lung transplant. Fast forward to today, 2 years later, and he's back to living a normal life. Amazing.
Wow.
Technology. Yes. What a story. All right, let's check in on our forecast with Chief Meteorologist Emily Wall. So we're preparing for possible snow this weekend.
That's right. We have another lake effect event. There we go. That's going to be unfolding here Friday into Saturday. And depending on where you're at, the impacts are going to be a little bit different here. So for those of us that are highlighted in purple here, that's Lake County, Illinois, northern Cook County, DuPage County, 2 to 3 inches of snow going to be possible. And the advisory runs from 9 a.m. tomorrow until 3 p.m. tomorrow. But then in central and southern Cook County, we have a winter storm watch that's going to last from Friday afternoon through Saturday morning. And then for those of you in Northwest Indiana, Lake and Porter counties, 6+ inches of snow going to be possible. And that winter storm watch, again, is likely going to be upgraded to either a warning or an advisory here as we get closer to Friday afternoon into Saturday. Futurecast taking us throughout the rest of this evening. Things are rather quiet. Here's that lake effect that begins to develop, and it's going to move onshore into northeast Illinois tomorrow morning. So be aware that you could be dealing with some very heavy snow during that morning commute lasting through midday. Temperature-wise, we're going into the teens tomorrow, but 20s expected for the weekend.
Cassie Carlson, joined by Fox Sports Radio's Carmen Vitale. The Bears don't have to worry about any coaching changes for right now. Looks like they're going to have a good chance of retaining the guys who were most notable to leave, and Declan Doyle and Al Harris. They are going to be back on the Bears staff, it seems, right now. And I think, you know, we haven't seen continuity on a Bears staff in so long, especially when it comes to head coach and quarterback, knowing that you have your play caller in Ben Johnson, you have your quarterback in Caleb Williams. That's not going to change anytime soon. But down to the coordinator position coach, how important do you think that is too?
It really is, and I think especially it's not only important for the Bears to have that continuity, but for a guy like Declan Doyle, who's young and who's just kind of getting started in this industry, to have a mentor like Ben Johnson. I think, you know, eventually you're going to want to set him free and let him fly and all that kind of stuff.
You don't want to call plays.
Right, exactly. You want to give him that opportunity, but in the meantime, I think it's so beneficial for him as he's starting out his career to be able to learn what it takes to create these turnarounds and to really create a culture behind it, because outside of that, I mean, you said it, Cass, like there's so much continuity, and I think it was our friend Courtney Cronin that said there's no drama in this Bears offseason. Like, you have your quarterback, you have your head coach, and on top of that, you also got to, on the other side of the ball, you got to keep Al Harris, which he was a very hot name for some defensive coordinator positions. He's a guy that the players really respond to, and despite the fact that he's a position coach for the most part with the Bears and under the defensive coordinator, he has so much impact on how the scheme runs, and especially in that secondary, that back level of the defense. So honestly, I thought Al Harris was as good as gone, not because the Bears didn't want to keep him, but because somebody was going to poach him for a promotion.
Across America is up next. We'll take you to Oregon, where a brewery is selling a beer made with a, interesting ingredient.
Almost unbelievable. And in New York, it's way too cold for the snow to melt, so the city is doing the job themselves. We're going to show you how.
Who here is our...
Federal road safety officials opening an investigation into Waymo's robo-taxis after an incident near an elementary school in Southern California.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says a Waymo hit a child in Santa Monica, causing minor injuries. The company says its robo-taxi detected the child running across the street, hit the brakes, but still made contact.
Strange development in the Luigi Mangione case. Now, a man was arrested this week for allegedly impersonating an FBI agent and trying to free him from jail. According to court documents, a guy by the name of Mark Anderson went to the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, claiming that he had paperwork authorizing him to free Mangione. When officers searched his bag, they found this: a barbecue fork and a steel blade that looked like a pizza cutter. They then immediately detained the man.
Thousands of people across the South are still without power 4 days after a massive winter storm. Hundreds of National Guard troops have now been mobilized in Mississippi and Tennessee. In Nashville, temps are expected to drop into the teens tomorrow, and there are still more than 85,000 homes without power.
Talk about a terrifying moment. This was caused by an ice storm in Texas. Could you see that car just whizzing around in circles? This is Austin, by the way. The driver clearly lost control, spun multiple times. That's crazy. Eventually would come to a stop. The owner of the video says the road was a sheet of ice. Good news, nobody got hurt.
New York City got a lot of snow over the past few days, and it's still too cold for it to melt on its own, so the city's sanitation department is taking matters into their own hands. They're out melting the snow themselves. Take a look. It's first brought to 5 locations in each of the city's 5 boroughs. Workers then put it into those melting machines that send the water into the city's sewer system. The machines can melt 240,000 pounds of snow per hour.
Well, tonight, Costco is facing a class action lawsuit over its $5 rotisserie chicken. Now, this suit was filed in California. It accuses the company of adding preservatives to their chicken, despite marketing that claims otherwise. Costco has not commented on the suit, but it has since removed the no preservatives label from its packaging and its online listings. All right, love this story. A group of pups boarding a plane. This is their first ever flight in California. This might look like maybe a vacation, but it's not. These pups are actually training to become guide dogs for the blind. The flight is part of a training exercise. It teaches them how to overcome travel challenges with the visually impaired.
A brewery in Oregon making its newest lager with an eye-opening main ingredient. Nature Calls is the name of it. And it's made from bear poop.
Yikes.
Yep, bear poop. The concoction is about as natural as it gets. From forest floor to a nice cold glass. Surprisingly, they say the beer has a clean taste with notes of huckleberry and honey.
And a little nutty.
Bear poop, Nature Calls. Well, it's never fun getting a red light camera ticket in the mail.
Imagine, though, that the car in the photo, it's not even yours. That story's up next.
Really something. Plus, e-bikes are getting faster, heavier, and more powerful. And Illinois officials are now worried state law is not keeping up.
I'm Cassie Carlson. The NFL finally creates an award for best offensive lineman, and one Bear named a finalist. And White Sox getting ready for Sox Fest that takes over the Ramova Theater this weekend. Will Venable and Chris Getz set the tone for spring training after a busy offseason. Later in sports.
During the President's Day sale at Ashley.
Now at the bottom of the hour, it is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Cook County sharing how you can help victims.
Also tonight, a new study finds the fastest driver of inflation, it's not groceries or gas, it's utility bills.
First, a Chicago woman getting a red light camera ticket in her mailbox, but it's not her car in the photo.
Yeah, it is, however, her license plate.
Tia Ewing was out looking into this today, and she's here to sort it out.
Yeah, this is a real mystery. Okay, so you got to follow along with me on this story. At first glance, the plates actually match, digit for digit, 233-9197. But if you look at this, it's the nines that give it away. So in this case, we're talking about Susan Bonini. This is the 9 on her license plate, kind of older. On the more modern Illinois license plate, this is what the 9 looks like. But in this case, the same plates, but completely different cars.
Look at it. This is not my car. This is a black Chevy. And then I look further and I realize it's the same license plate number as mine. Which that's really weird because I don't drive a black Chevy. I drive a green Subaru. And there's the problem.
So it all started when Susan Bonini opened a red light ticket in her mailbox. This was days ago. The red light violator had the same license plate number, but a much different car, a small black Chevy SUV. You see it running that light right there. The violation happened on the 5600 block of West Irving Park Road. At that moment, Susan was more than 30 miles away in Lisle and hasn't been to Chicago in several years. She says she's had the same license plates for over a decade, used across multiple vehicles, never lost, never stolen, never reported missing. She contacted the DMV. She contacted police. Both confirmed the plates are registered to her. Still, the $100 ticket remains, and Susan made a move out of safety, paying for new license plate and a new sticker costing more than $200.
I kept my old plates because if for some reason I have to go to court or something happens, like maybe these people commit a crime with that license plate, I can prove that I have my original license plates. What happens if they did something more than just running a red light and I'd be blamed for that?
Yeah.
That'd be scary.
Yeah. Well, I hope that does not happen. We are still trying to get to the bottom of this mystery, but she did do the right thing there by keeping those license plate, getting new ones. That is something that they do advise you to do if you're in this situation. Bonini provided the city with documentation showing the vehicle in the red light photo was not hers. Fox 32 reached out to Chicago's Department of Finance to ask if that ticket will in fact be rescinded. We are still waiting for a response on that. Now, after learning of this report, the Illinois Secretary of State's office says it is now investigating, and of course, we will continue to follow this story and bring you any updates. Tia Ewing, Fox Chicago. Dawn?
Thank you, Tia. January is Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month. It's a time to shine a light on a crime that often hides in plain sight. Cook County officials talked about it today. They say it is happening in our neighborhoods, workplaces, and online. It doesn't just show up as sex trafficking, but as labor exploitation as well. Cook County President Tony Preckwinkle says all of us have a shared responsibility to fight it. And in Cook County, there is a task force to do that with a new focus.
We're placing a renewed focus on combating cyber-enabled trafficking. As traffickers increasingly operate online, we are investing in digital forensics and investigative tools to disrupt these networks and bring perpetrators to justice.
This crisis affects all of our neighborhoods, but black children, especially black girls, are disproportionately represented in these missing person cases, and too often do not receive the attention and the urgency their safety demands.
To report a tip or get help, call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888. And human trafficking victims are often transported by train, which is why Metra is trying to teach riders to know the signs. You may have seen this, Metra employees passing out magnets listing some of those signs. They hope that if riders recognize what's happening, it could be the first step to getting a victim away from a trafficker.
Breaking news into our newsroom. Democrats in the White House striking a deal that averts a partial government shutdown and temporarily funds DHS. The two sides have agreed to separate Homeland Security funding for the rest of the legislation. Now, they will also fund DHS for 2 weeks while they debate Democratic demands. Well, we've been telling you for a while now about high NIPSCO bills in Northwest Indiana.
Now there's a new report out that says your utility bills have become the fastest driver of inflation.
Brett Bagansky joining us in studio. And Brett, you found that across the country there have been 2 big utility rate increases over the past couple of years, right?
And this is affecting like 81, 82 million people, and we're all paying for this. So in 2024, utility companies across the country requested rate increases which totaled $15 billion. But last year, it went up more than double and nearly $31 billion. So these are the findings from Power Lines, which is a nonpartisan consumer education group. So their researchers found that the cost of electric and gas utilities is not only outpacing inflation, it's surpassing other expenses like groceries. So I spoke with Charles Hua, who is the founder and executive director of Power Lines. He compared electricity to the new eggs, which you may remember became a political talking point about affordability during the 2024 election. So Hua said, we're now at a crossroads, and added, it's going to take you at home to make your voices heard if you want to see change in how much you pay.
The cost of living is already too high, and utility bills are a big part of that because, you know, it changes so much month to month, so it's hard to budget for, and there's just so little transparency into how all of this works. So there's this kind of black box effect where you look at your utility bill and you squint and you're like, what's going on here? I have no idea what any of these terms mean. And there's nobody there to explain why this is happening or what's going on or how consumers can make their voice heard.
So there are scheduled protests outside NIPSCO offices in both Hammond and Maryville next week. The Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, which approves all the rate increases for the state of Indiana, is having a hearing next Wednesday where they're going to be looking into the billing practices of NIPSCO. Certainly, we're going to dig more into this issue coming up at 9 o'clock. Scott.
All right, Brett, thanks for that. A water main break in Dixmoor has shut down 2 schools today. Happened at about 7 this morning near 146th and Sealy. No word right now on how many homes have been impacted, but everything has been fixed as of tonight. The schools will reopen tomorrow, as usual. Dixmoor finished an infrastructure improvement project back in September of 2024, addressing a series of frequent water main breaks that had haunted the south suburb, but not every pipe was able to get replaced.
Pipes out here are very, very old. They're aging, and they're 100+ years old. So what we're trying to do is get much help as possible to replace the remainder of some of these pipes.
Mayor Roberts says that a new water main will be put into the area where the break took place today within the next couple of months. You know, we had the fire at the top of the broadcast. We have a water main break. It's so cold out there. You know, our hearts go out to anyone that has to be outside in conditions like this, Emily.
Yeah, that's right, because we have temperatures again today that are just frigid outside. We're way below average. Typically for this time of the year, average highs are right around the freezing mark. And again, today we only made it into the mid-teens. Currently, we're at 12 in DeKalb. We're at 13 degrees at O'Hare, 18 in Gary, and 13 in Waukegan. Tonight, we're dropping down to about 4 degrees. We'll have northwesterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Increasing clouds late tonight, and then tomorrow, it's all about lake effect snow. So we have a winter weather advisory going into effect for Lake County, Illinois, northern Cook County, DuPage County, highlighted in purple here for about 2 to 3 inches of snow as heavy lake effect bands come through. And then central southern Cook County, we have a winter storm watch that's going into effect tomorrow afternoon, lasting until Saturday morning. For those of you in northwest Indiana, that's going to be lasting until Saturday evening. And the winter storm watch area, so central southern Cook County, northwest Indiana, looking at localized amounts as high as 6+ inches being possible with that heavy lake effect. So we have lake effect snow Friday and Saturday. That's going to come to an end by Sunday. High temperatures this weekend are expected to be in the 20s.
All right, thanks, Emily. Still ahead on the news at 5. E-bikes and scooters keep flocking to Illinois streets.
Yeah, we're going to tell you what the state is planning to do to keep riders and pedestrians and drivers all safe.
Fox 32 News.
Illinois wants to regulate e-bikes and electric scooters after injuries jumped 300% in 3 years.
Terrence is back with what could change.
Yes, so Secretary of State Alexis Janulis came up with this plan and announced it today. It's called Ride Safe, Ride Smart, Ride Ready. There's two pieces to it. First, the law that updates the vehicle code. Second, they're going to start teaching kids about this stuff in high schools around Illinois. Illinois already has rules for regular e-bikes. Those max out at 28 miles per hour. But then you got these other things called e-motos that can hit 50 miles an hour. Right now, there's no age limits on them, no licensing, nothing. Janulia says the system we have now was made for a different time.
One of the problems is that our laws haven't kept up with the technology or the demand. As a result, it's created confusion for riders, for drivers, for parents, and pedestrians alike. And ultimately, it puts lives at risk.
Well, the new law will put age limits and speed caps on these high-speed devices. Lawmakers are working on the bill right now, and kids are showing up in emergency rooms with skull fractures, broken facial bones, too, from e-bikes. So there's one thing a doctor wants all parents to know. We have that information for you on fox32chicago.com. Dawn.
Thank you, Terrence. Lake effect snow could be heading our way in just a few hours.
Northwest Indiana expected to get the worst of this. Emily has her full forecast after the break.
As Illinois gets set to host Washington, Brad Underwood knows his Illini need to refocus coming off their top 10 win at Purdue. And optimism is building around the White Sox after they bring in a proven closer to pair with young talent that now has experience under their belt. We hear from Chris Getz and Will Venable next in sports.
Nothing beats a Chicago.
Chief Meteorologist Emily Walls is here. Please warm us up with some good news.
Well, I can warm you up with some warmer temperatures this weekend.
Okay.
But before we can get there, we have accumulating snowfall in the forecast, especially for locations closer to the lake. So we have lake effect snow that's going to be developing overnight tonight into early morning tomorrow, but then not moving on shore until tomorrow morning. So we do have a winter weather advisory going into effect at 9 a.m., lasting until 3 p.m. for those of you in Lake County, Illinois, northern Cook County, as well as DuPage County. So for the counties that you see here highlighted in purple, That's the winter weather advisory for tomorrow morning through mid-afternoon, 2 to 3 inches of snow being possible. And you're probably thinking, okay, 2 to 3 inches of snow, that's not so bad. But the catch is that it's going to be coming down in just a couple of hours. So road crews going to have a hard time keeping up with that. And for people that are going to be on the roads, drastically reduced visibility is going to be possible as these lake effect bands move on shore. Then it's going to begin to swing to the south. So in central and southern Cook County, we have a winter storm watch that's going into effect Friday afternoon. That's going to last until Saturday morning. For those of you in Lake and Porter counties, this is going to extend all the way until Saturday evening. And anywhere throughout the lake adjacent communities here through Chicago, southern Cook County, rounding the lake into Lake and Porter counties, that's where we could be seeing 6 inches of snow locally. So again, some high amounts going to be coming out of this for some spots. Futurecast will time things out for you here. Notice the lake effect beginning to develop over the lake. And then that's going to push onshore across northeast Illinois tomorrow morning. And then the band is going to begin to swing to the south. So tomorrow afternoon, for the afternoon, the evening commute home, we're going to be dealing with that in the Chicago metro. And then that's going to continue to slide to the south overnight. And then into the day on Saturday, I should say, we're going to have those heavier bands likely being focused across northwest Indiana. So again, some locations could be looking at 6+ inches of snow with this. Your temperatures right now, many of us are sitting in the teens. We have wind chill temperatures that are getting pretty close to zero in a couple spots, actually feeling like 3 degrees below zero already in DeKalb. Your 5-day forecast here, we're going to be in the teens on Friday, jumping to the 20s over the weekend. Average for this time of the year is right around 32. We'll be close to that early next week. But before we can get there, again, we have to get through all of that snow that's going to be possible Friday and Saturday. For tonight, 4 degrees. We will have northwesterly winds, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow's high temperatures, 19 degrees. We're in the 20s for the weekend. Lake effect is going to come to an end area-wide late Saturday. By Sunday, we're dry, but then a few flurries could be possible again on Monday.
Thanks, Emily. Sox Fest returns to the Remova Theater this weekend as the 2026 baseball season is about to get underway. White Sox pitchers and catchers report to Camelback Ranch in less than 2 weeks. And after a busy offseason, bringing in a proven closer and versatile defensive player, Tina Nguyen has more on why Will Venable and Chris Getz are optimistic about the upcoming season.
Well, after 3 straight 100-loss season, there is a lot of optimism heading into the 2026 season for the Chicago White Sox. Year 1 under Will Venable showed real progress, and after years of rebuilding, Chris Getz and Venable says this year it feels different.
It makes my job easier if they already believe, and that's great, and those goals are great. But my job is to say, like, this is what we have to do to get there, right? And that is kind of part of the ground-up approach, saying, hey, like, you know, we spent an off season with our imaginations and kind of growing and believing in what this thing could be. If you want to get there at all, we're going to have to commit to these things and make them part of our daily habits.
The environment that he creates, you know, within that clubhouse, you know, allows the players to go out there and just, you know, what do they have to do that day to win ball games? So we've added to the group of talent that is currently there. The process is only getting stronger, so we do feel like we're going to take another step forward.
Pitchers and catchers will officially report on February 10th in Arizona. Fox Chicago will be on the road bringing you full coverage. Reporting from the South Side, I'm Tina Nguyen, Fox Chicago Sports.
Thanks, Tina. There is finally an award for offensive lineman, and the Bears' first-team All-Pro left guard Joe Thuney is a finalist. The Protector of the Year award goes to the league's best offensive lineman, and Thuney, who is a 4-time Super Bowl champion and Bears team captain, was part of an O-line that generated the third-best rushing offense and protected Caleb Williams, who was the most sacked quarterback a year ago, taking 68 sacks to just 24 this season. The winner will be announced at NFL Honors next week. Fox Sports Radio's Carmen Vitale and I discussed Thuney's role on the offensive line on Chicago Sports Tonight.
The way that this interior in particular and the leadership that Joe Thuney has brought, that is something that is so crucial to why this happened for the Chicago Bears. All three of those guys complemented each other so well and really just kind of led the offense, I think, as Caleb Williams was getting his footing. And I think we saw, you know, later on in the season where Caleb came into his own and Caleb just like he kind of took command of the offense and he became the leader. But I don't think that happens without those interior guys in particular on the offensive line.
Plenty more Bears talk to come on Chicago Sports tonight. Carmen and I dive into how the Seahawks built their defense and what notes the Bears can take from it, and would Trey Hendrickson fit in Chicago? Plus, Tito will have more on the White Sox expectations from Chris Getz and Will Venable, and we visit with Loyola basketball's Miles Rubin, who put his name in the Ramblers record books. Catch it at 6 o'clock on Fox Local and 9:30 right here on Fox Chicago. Well, Illini Hoops back on the floor tonight hosting Washington. It's an 8 o'clock tip-off on FS1. The Illini hold the top offense in NCAA basketball, and their freshman phenom, Keaton Wagler, put on an offensive clinic in their top 10 win at Purdue. His 46 points was the most ever by a visiting player at Mackey Arena, and he is now projected to be a lottery pick in the latest NBA mock draft. But none of that matters now that Illinois is on to their next game.
Sure, was Purdue a high-level game? It was a high-level college basketball game with tremendous emotion. But the reality is that you have to get back up and get ready again, and that's the reality of this league. And the beauty of this league is you can't slip or you get beat.
And after another disappointing loss to the lowly Pacers last night, the Bulls aim to get back on track tonight against the Heat, and it's the first of 3 straight games against Miami in 4 days. Their game January 8th against the Heat was rescheduled for tonight because of excessive condensation at the United Center. The Bulls are 23-24, now 10th in the Eastern Conference, holding that last play-in spot. Blackhawks in Pittsburgh tonight taking on the Penguins. Northwestern hosts Penn State tonight. Tip-off at 7 o'clock. That's it for sports. We're back after this.
Fox 32.
A 2-year-old in the UK is officially a world record holder.
Yeah, Jude hails from Manchester. There he is right there. Just became the youngest person on the planet to make a snooker double pot. What is that, you ask? Well, apparently that's sinking 2 balls into 2 different pockets with a single strike of the cue ball. Jude then went on to become the youngest person to make a pool bank shot, hitting the cue ball off 1 or more rails before potting a ball. Of course, he needed a stool to be able to reach the table.
You know what's wild?
To hear from him.
That kid learned to walk a year ago. This is what he's doing.
Nice.
So cool.
He'll be famous one day and making a lot of money doing that.
Well, he's well on his way. All right, 7-day forecast for you. We have lake effect snow that is going to arrive tomorrow across northeastern Illinois, and then it's going to shift into northwest Indiana tomorrow evening into the overnight. On Saturday and Sunday, we're in the 20s, though, so that's something to look forward to. And then next week, we're just kind of bouncing back and forth between the upper 20s and low 30s. So warmer days ahead.
All right, good stuff, Emily. Thanks for joining us at 5.
You can stream us now on your smart TV with Fox Local.
We're on all the streaming platforms.
Family Feud is next. We'll see you tonight at 9.
I'm innocent.